Okay, everybody. Round two, the second show, Thursday, 19th. All right, Ronnie. I don't know where everybody's at. I guess no one got the notification. Well, we got five on the number, one in chat. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and get started. People can catch up when they get in. It's 5 till, so. Oh, I got to log into Telegram. Shoot. Oh, I got to keep logging in. Oh, shoot. Oh. Carol can't see her name in chat. Maybe something's wrong. Oh. Yeah, we got all eyes. Okay, that's good. Yep, just came on. Okay, there's Carol. Yep, it's working. I gotta sign into Telegram here. Yeah, buddy. Okay, we get started here. The first one.
To a room that looks similar to Congress
About 3
floor,
minutes.
but with some strange differences. Seats were much more spaced out. The podium looked like it had seen better days, and the whole room looked to be pretty steep incline. Everything was in black and white. It looked like there were about 50 people in attendance. It was hard to make out the faces. Everything at this point looks very dated, like the video was from the 40s or the 50s. The tape lingered on this one shot for quite a while. Minutes passed. I noticed what looked to be a choir, all in outfit and perfectly huddled next to each other,
Oh,
standing in one of the corners
sorry,
of the room.
Carol.
It really felt like I shouldn't have been seeing this.
Daniel.
None of this was meant for my eyes. After a few more minutes, the tape abruptly cut to an awkward angle video of a man speaking at the podium in the room. It was too zoomed in enough that you couldn't see his eyes or his hair. It didn't look all that professional. I just couldn't tell who he was. But then he spoke. Members of the Committee for the Protection and Preservation of Human Consciousness, I thank you all for coming tonight. We are lucky to be in the good graces of our visitors today without rehashing our painful history. The tape cut to a camera slowly panning all over the faces of folks seating in the room. The attendees looked pained, somber. The man continued his speech as the camera continued panning over the committee. We can acknowledge that the journey to this moment has been an arduous one. I am pleased to say that humanity, faced with a dire ultimatum, has come to a majority decision. To our esteemed guests from across the solar system, we are thankful for the opportunity you have given us to negotiate with you. I felt the adrenaline. We had made contact with extraterrestrial life. This was the truth. Maybe, like the saying went, the truth would set me free. The man continues his speech. Before I outline the decision taken by humanity, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank the brilliant representatives from all of the nations of the world who came together to ensure that this decision was taken with the utmost responsibility, care, and appreciation for our human species.
Okay, I thought that was an important video here. What do you want? There's nothing there, buddy.
Giant disappointment to me after what I reported earlier about Donald Trump and signing the executive order to give Monsanto and Roundup a carte blanche to spray their chemicals and poison the American people and have full immunity and not have to worry about being sued. I reported on that and I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, RFK will have a conversation with Donald Trump, because if anyone knows how dangerous this company is, RFK would know. So much so, RFK in 2020 wrote this. He said, if my life were a Superman comic, Monsanto would be my Lex Luthor. He wrote this on Facebook in 2020. He said, I have seen this company as the enemy of every admirable American value. He said in 2018, he even represented a client who sued Monsanto to win $289 million, convincing a jury that the company knew that its product caused cancer. That's RFK. That's his words, saying that he knew that the company's product was causing cancer. But then he says Donald Trump's executive order puts America first where it matters most. This is what he said yesterday. Our defense readiness and our food supply, Kennedy said, we must safeguard America's national security first because all of our priorities depend on it. So my problem is this. I'm not an ideologue, okay? But he ran on making America healthy again. He's not done that. America is as unhealthy as it ever has been. We have some of the highest cancer rates in the world. Could that be because our food supply is tainted? We have dyes in our food that aren't allowed in other countries. They literally make food specifically for this country that they cannot send to other countries. They make a different recipe and send it to other countries because they know that those countries will not accept it. Then why not just make all of it non-carcinogenic? Why do they hate Americans so much that they'll feed us the garbage? And why do our politicians and why do our elected officials allow it? This has been something very, very important to me because at the end of the day, I am all about America, and America needs to be healthy. We deserve to be healthy. We deserve for our food supply to not be tainted. We deserve for our water supplies not to be tainted. I don't think that's a Republican message. I don't think that's a Democrat message. That is truly putting America first. If you're concerned about our food readiness and you're concerned about these things, then why do we not use the free market to find other options for growing food that will not be tainted by having to spray it with weed killers? Why not? Why don't we incentivize farmers, small farmers, family farms to not go out of business? Why do we say we're not going to allow China to buy up our farmland here in this country? Why do we not incentivize farmers to grow food the proper way? Because there's no money in it growing it the proper way. The only way that they can make money is to hold hands with big ag and to spray whatever they have to spray so they can grow as much of it as they can grow, and they can increase their profit margins by putting less labor on the ground. That's not making America great. That is cozying up to corporate interests. Shame on you, Robert F. Kennedy. You've turned your back on your constituents. Cannot be forgiven. You let me know what you guys think about this.
So what do you guys think on that one with Q? I got a short Trish video. Eight minutes. I got Captain Ron. Captain Ron next.
I'm looking at the White House secretary, Caroline Leavitt, and I think she's about to fall right off of the podium. She's you seriously, you idiot. Are you really asking me this question? Yeah, he's really asking the question. So drum roll, please. Here we go. The dumbest question from apparently a very dumb reporter who works for CBS News, and Caroline Leavitt having to stand up there and deal with this. Watch.
Yesterday, in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right?
No.
I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact,
Can you believe that that guy actually said that? I mean, in all seriousness, can you believe? I got to hear it again because it's just so outrageous. He's talking about Jesse Jackson, and the president gave a wonderful eulogy on Truth Social, a really nice comment. And his point was like, look, I always got along with Jesse. I always helped Jesse. I like Jesse Jackson. And he's sort of like, no matter what the media says about me, they're always going to keep calling me a racist. And this idiot reporter has the audacity to say, oh, no, that never happens. I mean, talking about gaslighting, right? They want to gaslight the heck out of you and rewrite history in real time. And she's just stunned. I got to play it again because it's so funny.
You're kidding, right?
Oh, wait. That's her reaction. It's just nuts.
It was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts, through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding to strengthen educational outcomes at historically Black colleges and universities across the country. Again, the president is protecting the hard-earned benefits of the 2.4 million Black veterans who honorably served in our nation's armed forces by reducing the Black backlog of veterans waiting for their VA benefits and for their home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there is a lot this president has done for all Americans, regardless of race, and he has absolutely been falsely called and smeared as a racist, and I'm happy to provide you those receipts, and we gladly will right after this briefing.
Okay. I just thought that was fantastic. All right. So she took the opportunity to say, listen, he's doing all this, that, and the other. And when you look at some of the polls, I mean, you've never seen a president do this well with Black Americans before, which is quite telling, right? But the idiot reporter trying to suggest something like this. So anyway, the White House promised to make good on this, and they sent out this clip, which I got to share with you because don't doubt yourself. We heard it. We heard it with our own ears. You heard a reporter say, well, when has he ever been called racist? Well, we got a little proof of that one for you, buddy boy.
He is a thin-skinned racist bully.
He has been racist.
There's never been a president in American history who's been so openly racist.
Racist in chief.
The president oftentimes resorts to very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic, racist rhetoric.
Okay. And you had Ilhan at the end, who's just mad because somehow it's racist that she's being investigated for having gone from negative $56,000 to $30 million net worth in the span of a couple of years, right? Like if we ask the question, gee, how did you get there? Somehow that's racist. Listen, I mean, I don't know what prompted him to say such a thing. Unless they're trying to rewrite history in real time. That's all I can really think of because they do that. You know that. We've seen them try and gaslight us all. And thank goodness we have tape. Thank goodness we have the tape. And I think it's because, you know what, they're sensing that this president, more than any other, I mean, he's gotten the most votes from Black Americans than any other president in history. And so they're feeling threatened. And so they want to try and change the narrative. Just like you saw Hillary Clinton this week come out, in Munich, say, maybe the migration stuff went a little bit too far. You heard Barack Obama say the same thing too, because they're trying to backpedal from some of this most extreme, most aggressive rhetoric, like open borders, one for all, don't call anybody illegal, etc. They're trying to backpedal from that because they know they've gone too far. And I think they're also trying to backpedal on the racist narrative. But it is true that over and over again, we keep hearing from Black Americans that they love They love this president. And I think that that's really scaring the left in a pretty massive way. You know who did an interview? One of the CNN people did an interview with some Black Americans. He just sat down with them and he said, listen, would you vote for Donald Trump again? And they kept saying, yeah, absolutely. No doubt I would vote for him again and again and again. And I think that this is contributing, definitely contributing to their fears. I'm looking for this clip in real time. Again, if you're watching, thank you. Make sure you subscribe, share, like. And I tend to sometimes do this. You guys know that because I like to walk and chew gum at the same time. And so I'm looking for this clip and I want to make sure the audio is good, and it is. So let's watch it together. This is Van Jones asking some Black voters on CNN, would you vote for Donald Trump? And Democrats don't like hearing these answers.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this.
She said yes.
It's immediately yes.
No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
Did you see Anderson's face? I guess he just lost his job over at CBS. He's taken time off to spend with family. Yeah. So apparently they couldn't pay him enough. I don't think you can pay me enough to go there. In fairness, I probably shouldn't take a swipe at Anderson for that, because you got to get like paid triple overtime or something to go work at that cesspool. Yeah. All right.
Okay, we're just getting started, everybody. Did a couple videos there. The next one's 18, one of Kay's favorites, Captain Ron. Come on, yeah. Come on. Get up here, Chico. Come on. Come on. All right. Say hi to everybody. Huh? So, Kay, I told her I'll be doing that one. Coming up next here. Then we'll do Billy Bean 12 minutes.
February 18th. And, you know, it's funny because everybody's continually looking back at what was.
Thanks, Lori,
instead
everybody.
of looking forward to what
Pacific
is going to be.
Ocean, welcome.
Because your focus is on those things in which have already happened and not your now and what's going on right now. And it's like the world is changing and you're missing it because you're focused on all the noise that's going on around the world. And it all has purpose, but it's not for the purpose of you. It's the purpose for the people to wake up so that they can go through this process of waking up. It's all been a part of this process from the very beginning. Go back to look at when this all began a long time ago, that when we just talked about the first opportunities of, like, say, Jade Helm. This is before Trump even came into office, that it was a conspiracy that the military was having operations that were potentially going to, you know, take over the civilian population. And they were doing operations, training this Jade Helm operation in the public space. Military does not do that kind of training in the civilian space. They create those spaces in their own domain to where they can control it all, but not operating out in the public arena. So when they say that, it's all bullshit. But leading from that, going into the whole thing with George Floyd and Mark Chavang, or however you want to say his name, when he was switched out. And that was the biggest conspiracy theory around, that it was even the actual person, when you don't believe your lying eyes that that's not the same person. And it's gone through these stages of people's consciousness waking up to this corruption and how much it truly is for them to be able to accept it. Because immediately when you say any of these things, they just shut it down. It's too far for them. It's a bridge too far. They just can't fathom it. And so they just shut it down. So it's like they stay in that coma, no matter what information you present, no matter what you do, just like COVID and the shot and everything else. Didn't matter what you showed them. Didn't matter what this is what it is, and that we've got to protect ourselves. They would never do this to us. They would not intentionally try to kill us. Well, we know those things to be fact. Now they know these things to be fact. And this is a part of that process of them going down this road of awakening. Yeah, they're slow as Christmas on waking up, but it's happening. And it's like, even to like right now, when Epstein was switched out, it was not Epstein that they presented as that corpse, and we all knew it. We all spoke about it. You don't change those physical features and then all of a sudden it just is wrong. Hillary Clinton, same thing. Look at the one before, look at the after. As soon as she came out of the residence after that 9/11 incident in 2016, not the same person. Hasn't been the same person from before then to after then. And it's like the Sleepy Joe, how many times do they have to tell you that he's dead and that it was not him? And it was presented over and over. Conspiracy, debunked, whatever. And then, up to today, it's like now when Ghislaine Maxwell did her little interview the other day where she pled the fifth on everything, now it's all over the internet by people that are just waking up that this is not her, and that you don't get your nose rhinoplastied in reverse,
13 minutes,
bigger and not the same shape, than being a nice small petite nose to a reverse job, chin and everything not the same, eyes straight across, that her ears are actually above the actual line, and then the one that they presented below, or vice versa, either one. I don't know, I didn't pay that much attention, but I was watching it going, this is just so funny that now people are on this bandwagon. They've been in WITSEC. Just like all these other people that have supposedly died. They've been in WITSEC. They were switched. Why? Because they were part of turning over this corrupt deep state that was infested in absolutely everything. And when it got to the point where their lives were potentially in danger, they needed to be removed, and they were. And you've got to understand, Epstein was in the middle of all of the corruption of the trafficking, the cannibalism, the pedo operations, and the financial. That's huge. The huge part of that is the financial corruption of these elites, paying for all of this, buying all of this, all around the world. And Maxwell, the handler, the fixer, her father was the Mossad spy that was stealing our nuclear information back in the day. You've got to understand all these individuals are all tied together, and how it's all starting to play out on a global stage. Don't worry about what's all this stuff. This stuff is all meant to wake up the freaking world. And that it's even like what's going on over in the Middle East right now. We've got technology and weapons that we could take down any country of the world militarily in a single 24-hour period. They know it. We demonstrated some of that technology and going in and taking Maduro and having
that
those
this
individuals
is
that
18
witnessed
about
it
12 minutes left on
speak
this one.
about it, terrified of our
back
super
12
soldiers
minutes.
and the abilities that the weapons that they had just was useless, because that's what it is. It's useless. So if we actually get into any kind of conflict like with Iran, then it's intentional so that it can present a movie type situation, because we're watching a movie play out. They are in complete control over it all. And when this all goes down, there's going to be bombing and destruction and da-da-da-da. That's all for the theatrical part of what's going to take place. I have a feeling that that same thing is going to actually kind of kick off some things here with the Muslim Brotherhood, of that whole corruption inside of the United States of sleeper cells that have been here in the United States that many have warned about. They've been here, and it's like they're going to spark off so that we can actually take all of this shit down. And so don't get caught up in the noise. Don't get caught up in the visuals, because as I've said before, from the movie Wag the Dog, they can present to you absolutely anything that they want to be able to get the reaction out of you emotionally that they're looking for. And this is with intent, because you have got to be broken from that control of the program. And if you keep slipping back into that programming of fear and doubt and disbelief and unbelief and all that, you're still caught up in the program. You're still caught up in it. You may be freer of it, but you're still caught up in it. That's why it was so important that the Word of God actually even tells us to fear not. That's their control mechanism that they use to be able to herd
7 minutes
and to manipulate the masses. So don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in the noise. All of this is intentional. Blowing up stuff, and it's all of that emotional response that you get from that. Even if they're presenting mass casualties and all this other shit, if you do not actually witness it with your own eyes and that you can actually touch the blood yourself, then you need to fucking question it, because a lot of this stuff is not what it appears to be, and that's intent. It's just like these leaders and stuff that are everywhere. They all know the technology that we have. We have technology that supersedes anything that they have. We can shut down. We can shut down a country, and there's nothing they can do to stop us. What we've actually presented the kinds of technologies that I'm talking about years ago when we shut off the power grids of an entire country and then turned it right back on after having it off for 24 hours. They've done it. They did the same thing when they went into the Vatican, where they shut down the Vatican while they went and took over the Vatican. These are all facts. I'm not spewing actual conspiracies. So just wake up to it and know that it's all being controlled. This was a difficult thing. I was struggling because there's so much I want to talk about, from the freaking kooks over in Italy that are just spewing shit from their, oh, I need to use my platform. You don't have a fucking platform. You're an athlete. Shut up and represent the country and do your best and be thankful that you have the opportunity to do what you're doing. Love your country or just keep your mouth shut. Period. Nobody wants to hear your crap. It's like athletes and everything else thinking that they have some kind of moral high ground to be able to, we look and we watch you because of your athletic ability, not because of what you got to say. Because as soon as you open your mouth, click, turn the channel. I don't want to listen to your shit. That's why nobody wants to watch the Olympics. Nobody's watching this stuff. Just like the halftime show with Bad Bunny. Click. I don't choose to participate in your propaganda crap. Period. People are waking up. Strengthen yourself emotionally in your spirit so that when your circle of influence wakes up, that you're strong and prepared to minister to them. Help them process what they're experiencing. Don't get caught up in what they're experiencing and then go back. Then why? God didn't wake you up for that. God woke you up because he knew you could take it, that you could deal with it, and that you could prepare yourself. You've always been a part of this plan. Be grateful for what you have received already and where you're sitting at. It's not about the difficulties and those are all God's plans for strengthening you and making you the person that he wants you to be. That was all training ground. Still is. Because God wants to elevate you to a place of prominence, but you can't be put there if you don't have the trial to back up where you're going. Testimony comes with a test. Always remember that. Victory comes from tests. You're victorious. God has already created your pathway. Allow him to allow you to finish it. Stand strong. Prepare yourself because shit is about to come unhinged over the next 60 days.
60.
And be careful what you allow yourself to be sucked into, because it's a visual intentionally to create that breaking point. Because it's like I've told you many times in the past, it has to get to that enough is enough, I can't take it anymore, to break that programming. It's coming. We are already entering into it. We've been going through it, but it's like baby steps, bigger steps, and now leap and bounds. And that's where we're headed into. And when that starts happening, you're going to have time to gather your shit, because your shit should already be gathered. Understand? I have much faith in you. Everything that you have been through has been for purpose. The good, the bad, the indifferent, all of it has been preparing you for the days ahead. Be grateful that you are participating in the greatest time to ever be alive. Because that's what this is. I love you guys. God loves you. And everything, when you go back and look at this in the end, you're going to go, it's all been freaking worth it. And we'd do it again. But you got to have a mindset of what you're looking to, not what you're coming from. And looking back. Stop looking back. Get your eyes up, look forward, and prepare yourself. God's got a place for you. Believe in yourself because God already does. I love you guys. God loves you. I'll talk to you soon.
So that was Captain Kyle. That was one of Kay's favorite ones there. I think she's listening. She might be popping in. But we haven't heard him in a while. So we got Billy Bean, 12 minutes.
Dollar Shave Club just has great razors at a great price and no bull.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean Flash Update. Today's date, February 20, 2026. Time in Texas, about 4 p.m. Some of the things we'll cover: insurrection, President Trump, Board of Peace meeting today. And this is the big news. The UK, Keir Starmer, as I've presented in the past, is in the pocket of the CCP. Now we more clearly see how deeply he is into the pocket of the CCP. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, came out today and said the US may not use UK bases to hit Iran. So let's get started. We have this going on. President Trump had a meeting today, the first ever meeting of the Board of Peace. And I believe he's had pledges up to $5 to $10 billion to rebuild Gaza. And also commitments from many nations to provide troops for the International Peace Force that will station up to 5,000 troops in Gaza. So way to go, President Trump, peacemaker. And we have this. Next Tuesday, President Trump will give the State of the Union message.
I'll be here.
And we're hearing what the commie Dems plot to do now to act against the American people. And they want to do everything they can legislatively next week to block the U.S. from hitting Iran. Now, as I brought out before, a hit on Iran is good for the people of Iran. It brings about regime change. It also prevents 80% of Iran's oil going to China. China is one of our number one enemies. So that's going on. But the commie Dems are only concerned about their own pockets and their own platform of power. We have this from Steve Cole's aggregate site, Just the News. Maryland, headed up by a commie Dem governor, Wes Moore, goes full stop insurrection. The governor signs legislation to make it a law in Maryland, barring state governments at any level and state police from cooperating with a federal agency, ICE. So just another example of how far left the Dem political party has gone. Anything the commie Dems can do to hurt American citizens, and this is a governor signing legislation that's going to take away law enforcement and protection for its own people. But hey, when you're a commie Dem, you're only concerned about your platform of power. And we have this. So today, we know that Keir Starmer has been putting out, in my mind, false statements about Diego Garcia, a strategic military base for both the U.S. and the UK, saying he's going to return it to the island of Mauritius. And my research reveals there was no concrete ties between the Chagos Island, that's all of the islands here, and Mauritius. But hey, Mauritius now is well understood to be under the control of the CCP. Keir Starmer, a traitor to both the US and the UK, I guess, doesn't have enough of CCP money in his greedy pocket. And now, apparently, he wants some U.S. money also in his pocket. Keir Starmer came out today and said the U.S. military may not use UK bases. That's one near London, Raf Fairford, and Diego Garcia to hit Iran. So we see Keir Starmer. He's under the gun in the UK because he hired Mandelson to be an envoy to the US, and Mandelson was tied to the Epstein files. And we've seen the Prince Andrew being arrested today. And we've heard that Keir Starmer is also tied to the Epstein files. And Keir Starmer, to protect his platform of power, last week fired his top aide, McSweeney. But today, Keir Starmer makes clear he is neither on the side of the UK nor America, but firmly in the grip of the CCP.
I can't believe the sleep apnea pillow exists, so I almost made the dumbest mistake of my life. I got this contour.
And has made this statement: the UK will not allow the US to operate their planes parked near London nor based in Diego Garcia to hit Iran. Keir Starmer, shut up. And we have that going on. And also today, then, President Trump said he no longer supports the UK's plan. Now it comes out the UK was actually going to sell the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, believed for $358 billion. You think a little island like this has $358 billion? No, they don't. Who does? That would be the CCP. Why would the CCP want to control Diego Garcia? It's because it's a primary strategic U.S. military base, as well as a strategic base for UK. Keir Starmer, traitor to the core. So President Trump came out and said he didn't no longer supported the UK's plan to sell Diego Garcia to Mauritius. The first we've heard it was going to be sold. Keir Starmer, lying through his teeth, had said the UK was going to give the Diego Garcia Chagos Islands to Mauritius. You cannot trust Keir Starmer. So that's going on. Now, there is some dispute about whether Keir Starmer's statement applied to Diego Garcia. Some outlets say it applies to both Ralph Fairford, and also Diego Garcia. And other sources say it only applies to the base located near London. At any rate, Keir Starmer demonstrates once again that he cannot be trusted and that he is a traitor to both America and to the UK. So that's going on. And we have this from retired Colonel Davis with Deep Dive regarding Iran. And it's being put forth by intel sources that the UK has intel agents on the ground in Iran. And yet, Keir Starmer says to the US, you can't hit Iran from the UK. Shut up, Keir Starmer.
She said it again.
So that's going on. And we have this from Hal Turner's intel. The UK, once again, betrays America. And this is regarding not allowing the US to use Diego Garcia and Ralph Fairford for the US to hit Iran. We have today Poland telling Polish citizens in Iran to evac immediately. And we have this from Hal Turner. Chinese satellites are now giving intel to Iran, along with GPS coordinates to be used for Iran to target U.S. military assets in the Middle East, including planes. And China also IDs the type of plane and its GPS location for Iran. We know that China receives 80% of Iran's oil, and that China and Russia have some type of agreement with Iran. We have this from Judge Napolitano interviewing Pepe Escobar. There is some type of strategic agreement between China and Russia. Neither China nor Russia want to fight the U.S. military directly. China is giving intel to Iran. Russia is putting some type of protection over the Iranian grid. Russia also is providing counter intel to Iran. And now China says China's military ships will escort oil from Iran. So that's going on. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Watch what magnesium does to your bowels.
If you have to...
Okay, we got 2 billies in tonight. I got about 8 short ones we'll do before we get to the next 10-minute one. So we'll go ahead and get... I got 3 new ones. That's an old one. Hang on a second. Leather jacket.
Of Nancy Pelosi's assets, including financial assets in Florida that represent corrupt money transferred by Democrats to various institutions. Investigators found frontmen moving money to provide financial support to Democratic politicians, and according to an investigation by Florida prosecutors, the origin of the money is right here in California, with corrupt Governor Gavin Newsom ordering undeclared financial transfers to various banks and states controlled by Democrats, using his own employees as fronts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Newsom used his own office staff as fronts, but that's no surprise to anyone. The guy even used his own wife, the mother of his children, as a front to embezzle millions. So it's no surprise that he used his employees to move even more money out of state. One of these financial transfers is linked to a trusted associate of Nancy Pelosi who moved the money through a Florida bank account, acting as a front because, according to DeSantis, the money was going to an entity directly controlled by Pelosi. Therefore, the governor demanded the freezing of all of Nancy's assets, which now puts her one step closer to going to jail for financial crimes. It is more than clear that what the Democrats are doing is thinking ahead to 2028, as has already been said here, because they want to buy state elections by putting a larger number of corrupt Democrats in power this year so that when the presidential election arrives, they can return to power. I am Fernanda Perez, and I tell you in no uncertain terms, this group will fall, and it will fall hard. Pelosi, an elderly woman who may end up spending the rest of her life in jail, along with a bunch of other corrupt Democrats, that day will be celebrated throughout America. And you already know, if you want to see this whole bunch rot in jail, don't forget to follow me because justice is finally coming for the corrupt.
Hey, the first one there.
After Gavin Newsom embezzled billions of dollars, half of it from federal funds, and left behind a massive debt. Newsom will have to return all the stolen money, which will likely end with him behind bars for a long time. I am Fernanda Perez, and this is something you need to know. There is suspicion that Newsom attempted to bribe FBI agents investigating the criminal Democratic machine here in California. And this is not me saying it, but FBI Director Kash Patel himself, who found evidence of fraud used to obtain federal funds to manipulate state elections. The corruption is so widespread that it goes far beyond California. They stole so much money because they are desperate for power, desperate over the real possibility of Democrats being kicked out of California this year, because they cannot win without manipulation, without fraud, and without stealing. The desperation was so great that they even tried to assassinate President Trump in 2024 because they knew all of this would come to light. How the Democratic government used federal funds to rig elections. But they were too ambitious. They thought no one would find out about an $18 billion contract for a railroad that never got off the ground. No one would suspect the disappearance of the money, especially while our legislators were approving tax increases pushed by the Newsom administration to cover the shortfall. Do you understand how this Democratic fraud machine works? If you want to see these people in jail as much as I do, follow me, because I will tell.
Okay, one more I got, I believe. Ah. Hey, this is the other one.
After the billion-dollar theft scandal here in California, along with Gavin Newsom, for influencing this year's elections to benefit the Democrats. The FBI clarified that the absurd tax increase in California, the record-breaking revenue our state collected, making it the state that raised taxes the most, was meant to cover the billion-dollar hole caused by the embezzlement of federal funds. With the closure of USAID, which states governed by Democrats tried to use to cover this up, we gained access to a lot of information. After operations were shut down, the Democrats had to pull the money from another source, meaning it ultimately came from us. After all, these scoundrels can't win anything without stealing and falsifying. Most recently, Pelosi had an account frozen at a Florida bank over illicit transactions. Local authorities discovered that a front man moved millions to an entity controlled by Nancy to buy phantom votes in key states that could hand victory to the Democrats. I'm Fernanda Perez, and I'll tell you everything the Democrats are trying to cover up because the desperation is so intense that even before the elections, mass arrests could occur, especially in California, with Democratic leadership facing a serious risk of being arrested. Will the corrupt Democrats finally be politically exterminated from our state? If you want to see these scoundrels behind bars, don't forget to follow me, because here I'll tell you.
Okay, our news lady out of California. Okay, this next one, finding, oh, I'm not sure if I played it.
Like, he looked like a lizard. Like, I was so scared. He was sitting there, and I turned him. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Holy shit!" He looks just like a lizard, and I had to go. It was really bad.
So you just left? Wow.
At the time, the usual suspects in Hollywood and the legacy media were busy gnashing their teeth while calling it all
3 minutes
just
on this
another
one.
conspiracy theory. I think this clip should have every thinking person pausing for a second. It's
Okay, you
Britney
missed,
Spears recounting a date from hell. The guy looked like a lizard.
Billy said,
Sound familiar?
shut up
She wasn't
twice.
joking. She wasn't having a
And I
meltdown.
did capture
She was
file.
telling the truth, her truth, but also the truth. And the reptilian stuff? It's not new. It's been happening for decades. We're just finally allowed to talk about it without getting laughed out of the room. Or worse, locked up in a conservatorship. It actually reminds me of that lady on the plane that was screaming, that man is not real.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Shape-shifting reptilian entities masquerading as the global elite, pulling strings from the shadows. World leaders, billionaires, Hollywood royalty, allegedly not even
Anybody
human.
see this one
Back
yet?
then, the media painted him as a tinfoil hat lunatic. Reptilians? Please, fast forward to today, and whistleblowers are dropping the same names in closed-door briefings on Capitol Hill. Greys, Nordics, insectoids. And yes, reptilians. Congressman Eric Burleson went public in 2025 saying Pentagon insiders straight up listed those 4 species operating on Earth. A 2024 congressional document even references reptilian, unidentified aerial phenomenon occupants working with parts of the military-industrial complex. This isn't fringe anymore. This is on the record. So why are we only learning about it now? Because the internet happened. Because after years of being gaslit about everything, people finally stopped trusting the gatekeepers. The same machine that told you Britney Spears needed to be stripped of her rights for her own good suddenly can't control the narrative anymore. Remember 2007? Britney shaves her head, smashes a paparazzo's car with an umbrella, checks in and out of rehab like it's a revolving door. The tabloids had a field day. Crazy Britney. Train wreck Britney. But what if she wasn't crazy? What if she saw something she wasn't supposed to see? What if that lizard date wasn't the only insanity she was exposed to? The conservatorship came right after. 13 years of her life controlled down to the minute. No phone, no freedom, no voice. They called it protection. I call it silencing a witness. Hollywood has always been ground zero for this. Britney Spears tried to warn us in plain sight on British television. They turned her into a punchline. They locked her away. They paraded her broken image across every screen as proof that questioning the narrative makes you unstable. Sound familiar? It's the same playbook they use on anyone who gets too close to the truth. Whether it's a pop star or a parent at a school board meeting. She wasn't crazy. She was early. Britney Spears.
Okay, that's the latest update news with Britney. I got another one that's 8 minutes also. I'm not sure if I played it yet.
Running our prisons, literally with the incentive to make money to the point where they'll sue us, they'll sue the state, they'll sue the town
on this one
if we don't put enough prisoners in jail. So if we do a good job and keep all of the crime off the streets, we're going to get sued by these companies. Picture that pressure environment. Now, do you see why that trickles down to the police and they're so enforceful and why they need your ID? That's step one to throwing you in prison. That's what this is all about. That's why it's all about, let me see your papers, right? We did another huge dig. Let me give you the quick results and another TTS.
Look at the sign on your local county jail. It has your county's name on it. It has your state's seal on it. But in 2026, those symbols are a lie. You are looking at a foreign embassy of corporate greed, and you are the one paying the rent. Right now, across this country, We are witnessing what the Minnesota Attorney General is calling an unconstitutional occupation. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a court filing. Under Operation Metro Surge, thousands of federal agents are flooding into local streets, not to make you safer, but to satisfy a contract. You see, the private equity firms and global REITs that own these facilities, companies like Geo Group and Core Civic, don't see criminals. They see occupancy units, and they have a fail-safe. It's called a bed quota clause. These contracts, signed by your representatives in rooms you weren't invited to, guarantee that these jails stay 90 to 100% full. If crime goes down, if your neighborhood actually gets safer, the company doesn't celebrate. They sue. They sue your state for lost profits because there aren't enough human beings in cages to meet their quarterly earnings report. Think about that. You are paying a peace penalty. Your tax dollars are being weaponized against your own safety because a safe city is a breach of contract for a billionaire in a different time zone. And don't be fooled by the American flags in their lobbies. These are publicly traded shells. Your local justice system is being managed by international investment funds and foreign entities like Serco and G4S. They have no skin in your community. They have no interest in your sovereignty. They are here for the harvest. They've turned your local police into delivery drivers for a global supply chain of incarceration. They've turned your constitution into a lease agreement. And they've turned your town into an occupied territory where the occupancy is the only thing that matters. The word on the street is that the jails are suing the states because they aren't keeping up with the occupancy. The word on the street is right. The house is empty, the bill is due, and they are coming for the raw material to fill the beds. Welcome to the invisible occupation. It's time to ask, who actually owns your city? Now, let's talk about the ghosts in the machine. Let's talk about how they steal your vote without ever touching a ballot box.
I can't remember.
In most of this country, when you are locked in a cage, you are legally transformed into a political
might
phantom.
have, but
Under the Census
Oh,
Bureau's
well,
usual
twice
residence
if
rule,
I did.
a rule the Bureau is still refusing to fix in 2026, you are no longer a resident of your home, your neighborhood, or your city. You are officially counted as a resident of the rural district where the private jail sits. This is prison gerrymandering, and it is a mathematical hack of American democracy. Think of a tiny rural town with a population of 2,000 people. Now drop a 5,000-bed private prison into its center. Overnight, that district's population grows by 5,000 residents. That town suddenly gets more state funding. It gets more seats in the legislature. It gets more weight in the halls of power. But here is the catch. The prisoners cannot vote. These are phantom constituents. They are human beings used as population padding to give rural pro-prison politicians an artificial boost in power. It is a literal transfer of political influence from the urban streets, where these people were taken, to the rural corridors where the corporations build their cages. It creates a cycle of rot that is impossible to break. The more people a politician helps lock up in their district, the more political power that politician gains. They aren't representing the people in the cells. They are representing the capacity of the cells. They are incentivized to fight every reform, block every early release, and protect every bed quota, because if those beds go empty, their political career disappears with the population count. While 19 states have fought back to end this theft, the rest are still running the scam. In states like Texas, Florida, and Mississippi, your representation is being diluted by a population that is legally silenced. They aren't just stealing years of people's lives. They are stealing the democratic voice of the communities they left behind. It's a system where the cage doesn't just hold a body. It holds a census count that keeps the machine running. You think you live in a one-person, one-vote democracy? Not as long as the phantoms are being used to balance the books. Phase 2 is complete. They've occupied your town. Now they've stolen your vote. You've seen the occupation. You've seen the political theft. Now look at the exit, or the lack of one. In the private prison economy of 2026, freedom isn't served. It's invoiced. Imagine you've finished your time. You walk to the gate, ready to start over. But as the door clicks shut behind you, they hand you a bill. This is pay to stay. In 48 states, the jail can charge you for the cost of your own cage. Sometimes $50, sometimes $100 every single day. You walk out with $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 in incarceration debt. It's a debt you can't pay because with a record and no credit, you can't get a job. And because you can't get a job, you can't get a house. In some counties, if you miss a payment on your prison rent, they put out a warrant. You go back to jail for the crime of being unable to pay for your last stay. It is the perfect closed-loop system. The company gets paid by the state to hold you, and then they bill you for the privilege of being held. But what if they hurt you while you're inside? What if the medical care, provided by private equity-backed giants like WellPath or Corazon, is so shoddy you leave with a permanent disability, or you don't leave at all? That's where they perform the Texas two-step. As we saw throughout 2024 and 2025, these companies use a legal loophole to split into two. They put all their profits and contracts into a clean company and dump all the medical neglect lawsuits into a death company. Then, they file for bankruptcy for the shell, wiping out thousands of claims for pennies on the dollar. The families of the dead get nothing. The company, under a new name like YesCare or Teham, keeps the multi-million-dollar contracts and moves on to the next county. It's a system designed to ensure that once you enter the orbit of the private justice industry, you never truly leave. You are either a unit in a bed, a phantom on a census map, or a debtor on a balance sheet. The jails are suing the states for empty beds. The medical companies are dancing through bankruptcy courts to avoid accountability, and the bill is being sent to you, the taxpayer and the target. This isn't justice. This is a harvest. And as long as there is a profit in the pulse of a prisoner, the machine will never stop. Phase 3 is over. The cycle is complete. Who's next?
Okay, that was a good one. Got to follow that guy there. Next one's 4 minutes.
This, the letter J, was not a letter until the 16th century. His name was not Jesus. He does say, "We'll worship the one who comes in his own name. But when I come in my Father's name, you will deny me." The Paleo-Hebrew language is one of the oldest languages recorded. Yahuwah, meaning the I am that I am, and the breath. And then his son, Yahusha. The only difference is the letter S. You can take it or you can leave it. I have no judgment. The Hebrew translation from the 12th century translate Yahweh, Yeshua. So why yes, Yahweh, Yeshua is the Hebrew translation. The original translation of that is the Paleo-Hebrew Yahuwah, Yahusha. Just putting out what I have found. Take it or leave it. The attacks that I get from those videos and people screaming the name of Jesus, the whole world is screaming that name. Wide is the path of destruction, and very narrow is the way to righteousness. He said, seek for a reason. Not seek what you are given. Seek. Someone did a duet with me telling me I was a witch because I said the word meditate. Do you know how many times he said the word meditate through scripture? Just what you were given? And that King James, you should probably look up who King James really was. He said it 23 times. Do you know how many times he told you to follow me? 21 times. Do you know how many times he said worship me? 0. Matthew 15:9. They will worship me in vain at the doctrine of man's hands. While yes, the God of the Old Testament is the demiurge, the God of darkness, the God of this world, the God of bloodshed, the God of murder, rape, and blood sacrifice. There is still truth sprinkled throughout that scripture. Husha also said, I do not return
What do you
with
think of this one,
observation,
Carol?
for the kingdom of heaven is within you. That is in Luke 17. Look it up. Seek for yourself. You call these people that are giving you this new information witches, deceivers, children of Satan. I'd rather be called all of those names than be called a Christian right now. Because the things that I'm witnessing in the way that you're coming at me. But here's the beautiful part about this. They called the Son all of the same names. It's before they murdered him. I'm not judging you. I'm only giving you my truth. And I can disagree with you and still say that I love you. But I know this. I have done nothing but seek for the truth since I was a small child. Make it make sense has been my question since I was 5 years old. And today, it makes perfect sense. Sit at the right hand of my Father. Sit on the right side of your brain. Love, compassion, empathy, pure of heart. The left side of the brain, fear, guilt,
so
shame.
This one wasn't good, you guys?
Everything that Christianity keeps you in to keep you in control.
Sorry about that.
Take it or leave it. You want to continue to call me a deceiver? It's all in scripture. Called my brother a deceiver. So I'd say at this point, it's a compliment.
Sorry about that. I didn't know if that was good or bad.
Conspiracy theory claims. The 45-47, especially the dash, Trump's hats, is code for an active military operation and military government started in 2017. Believers assert Trump activated military laws, executive orders, and continuity of government protocols, placing the U.S. under military occupation and special operations. He never left office in 2020. The Biden presidency was a stage, facade, or puppet government, while Trump remained the true commander-in-chief as 45, effectively 46, and now 47. The dash symbolizes unbroken military continuity. Public events are a controlled show to expose corruption, conduct tribunals, and prepare for power restoration, guided by the law of war manual. He said that as Mar-a-Lago was seized upon for the Presidential Emergency Act document, which is only what Trump knows and the military. He had to do this because he declared 2 national emergencies. You know what? Biden hasn't reversed that. Biden has signed on to 3 of his executive orders to continue them going. We have some very fascinating things that are going to come out. Executive Order 13848 of September 12th, 2018. Imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States election. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergencies Economic Powers Act, the National Emergencies Act, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the ability of persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States to interfere in or undermine public confidence in United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure, or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States.
Okay, our mask guy. I got a short one again. Let's play this one. Four minutes.
Debates over parental rights and integrity. Whew, we have a lot to cover today. So I'm Tori with Rocky Mountain Voice, and here is your Mountain Minute for February 19th. Let's start in Colorado in the Tina Peters case. The Colorado Court of Appeals is weighing whether her bond denial was based on statute or protected speech. The case centers on whether comments she made publicly factored into a decision to keep her jailed pending appeal. The court must now decide whether the denial followed proper legal standards or crossed into constitutional concerns. We'll keep you updated as we always do. In Inglewood, a medical device company has agreed to a criminal non-prosecution agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice, forfeiting nearly $100 million in unpaid claims tied to TRICARE billing practices. Prosecutors allege the company submitted claims that exceeded physician orders and in some cases were not medically necessary. While the company avoids criminal charges under strict compliance terms, former executives now face federal charges, including conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud. Meanwhile, Denver has joined roughly 140 cities and counties filing amicus briefs backing Minnesota and Rochester, New York, in lawsuits over sanctuary policies. We've been here before. Mayor Mike Johnston says sanctuary policies boost safety, while the Trump administration argues such policies obstruct federal immigration enforcement. Colorado's largest publicly traded company has moved its headquarters from Denver to Miami area. Valued at roughly $300 billion, Palantir, previously located from California to Colorado in 2020, the move raises questions about business climate and long-term competitiveness in this state. At the neighborhood level, a Denver homeowner's simple backyard pergola for his aging mother has turned into a costly multi-year zoning battle after a neighbor complaint triggered city enforcement. The case highlights ongoing friction between property rights and local regulation oversight. On the judicial front, Governor Jared Polis has appointed Chief Judge Susan Blanco of Larimer and Jackson counties to the Colorado Supreme Court. Blanco, a district judge since 2017, joins a court now composed largely of former trial judges. In commentary, one writer argues that Christians have not only a civic right, but a spiritual responsibility to vote, grounding the case in scripture and constitutional principles. Definitely check it out. Another commentary warns that mandated electric school buses face hard winter limitations rooted in physics, specifically the competition between cabin heat and propulsion for battery energy, and suggests policymakers cannot, quote, outwish physics when making energy mandates. Now, nationally, a coalition has petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court to review a Washington state law that allows runaway minors to access gender-related medical treatments without parental notification or consent. Lower courts ruled parents lacked standing to challenge the law, and supporters of the petition argue the case raises fundamental parental rights questions. A Georgia pollster writing in James Magazine argues that questions surrounding the 2020 election were never fully quantified, suggesting that only a full federal review of voter rolls could settle lingering doubts. And lastly, in another powerful commentary, following the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, one author argues that America's growing political polarization and erosion of trust threatens civil discourse itself, calling for principle-based dialogue over rage-driven politics. As always, you can read every one of these stories at RockyMountainVoice.com. And in today's show notes, you can also subscribe to the Mountain Minute newsletter to get it delivered straight to your inbox every day. And as always, friends, stay sharp, stay bold, and stay.
Okay, lady out of Colorado news. We got Aaron speaking with the guy and talking about Guthrie. It's 11 minutes. Only 11 minutes.
Forward.
team. I've just done a really fascinating interview with a man called Morgan Wright, who specializes in reconstructing crime scenes. Look up his Substack, you'll see it on the screen. I wanted to talk to him, of course, about the Guthrie case. It's eye-opening. The whole thing is bizarre. Yes, it's heartbreaking, but it's even more confusing. You've got to watch this. Morgan White, thank you so much for giving us some time here on the Aaron Molan Show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, look, first of all, like we were talking, I've done a lot of work in Australia before. One of the best times I had was driving the Great Ocean Road, going from Melbourne all the way out, seeing the koala, seeing a real koala in a tree. You know, that was so amazing.
Do you know I have not done the Great Ocean Road drive yet? That is criminal.
Oh,
it's
you
on my
you have
bucket
to.
list.
You see the apostles, 5 apostles, I think they call it,
Yeah.
and just the ocean, the water is beautiful. I can't believe I've been there and you haven't. So.
I know, it's insane. It's a big country. It's a big country like yours is here in
Yeah.
America, where we both are now. And on to less pleasant things,
Yep.
Morgan, looking at the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, what about it makes you go, something's not adding up here? Or is it fairly typical of an unsolved mystery?
So, I do a
might be good,
Substack. It's
Kay.
called crimereconstructed.substack.com. But that's the whole purpose, is to reconstruct crime. It's like if you wanted to remodel a house, they call it demo day. You'd strip everything down to the studs and you rebuild. So you rebuild the case. So I wrote a Substack post, and this gets into the heart of the matter, Aaron. I said, it can only be one of two things. This is a binary crime. Either it's a robbery that went wrong, or burglary, I should say, because robbery is of a person, but burglary of a house. Either it's a burglary that went wrong, or it was never a burglary, because one's about chaos, one's about control. So in the case of, so think about this, because I was a detective, a state trooper. I mean, I worked lots of cases. When you have a home invasion and they know people are there and they're targeting there, they expect people to be there. So they don't flee based upon the fact that there's somebody there. But somebody breaking into a house that doesn't want to have that confrontation. So if it's a burglary that went bad, you have to ask yourself the question, what conditions had to exist inside the house for the offender to believe that abduction was less risky than fleeing? And that's where it makes it hard. Because on the other hand, because I know some of the experts, air quotes, are saying, well, we want to look for people whose behavior has changed and stuff. And I'm telling you, well, what if abduction was the target? What if that was their intended purpose? You would not see anybody's behavior change, because that's what they intended to do. They intended to abduct somebody. So that's the big dichotomy right now between what really happened. If it was a burglary that went wrong, then why the abduction? So we don't know the circumstances. That's been the hardest thing to reconcile, because it's targeted if you believe that they were willing to accept the risk. It's not targeted if you believe that the offender should have fled but didn't. So then what made them not flee, or what made them abduct? So that's the hard part.
Fascinating. You look at the amount of manpower that is invested in this case now from FBI. I mean, significant media interest, clearly, given who her daughter is. Are you surprised that they have found as little as they have, or that it's taking them so long to have these moments where they say, look, we've got some vision now, or we found a glove, or whatever it is? Would it normally take so long with the amount of resources?
So I was actually out there for 4 or 5 days. I think that's where you saw me, and that's when you reached out. So I mean, I went out, I looked at the ground. One of the things you have to do is get the lay of the land. What's the terrain like? What's the environment like? Because that really informs part of your decision making. And actually, a friend of mine that used to be on DEA called me. They worked a case out there where it's a drug dealer case, cartel. They killed a guy, cut him up into parts, put his body in a tub, put it in concrete, and left it out in the desert. But they don't know what happened to his arms and legs, but they buried his head. When they did a proffer, and he said, hey, I'll tell you where it is. He took him out in the same Catalina foothills, took him out to a sagebrush, said, the head's buried here. It took them 2 hours to dig only 2 feet down. That's how difficult it is to dig in that area. So, so here's what I'm not surprised about. I'm not surprised that it's taking time, because there's no such thing as what's the average case take. That's like asking, hey, I've lost my keys, and how long will it take me to find them?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? So, and the other thing too is, from an investigative standpoint, you always want to be transparent in terms of you want to release as much information as you can to help advance the case forward with the public, but you never want to release information that hurts the progress of the case so that you've exposed information that shouldn't be. So I will tell you, when it comes to DNA and it comes to announcing results, this is just me talking, Morgan, in my own little world, but if I were going to do it, I would continue to make statements that say, well, we're still looking at it. We're still looking at it. If that DNA turned into a match, so in other words, when you do DNA profiles, there's a couple things that could come off the glove or glove. See, the other thing too is the statement. The New York Post has this picture of finding a glove, singular, but the FBI in their statement talks about gloves, plural. So we don't know, is that the same glove we saw? But let's assume that we have something to compare it against, right? That if there's DNA on there, it can be Nancy's DNA from touch DNA, what are called epithelial cells, your skin cells that come off of that. Whoops. It could be DNA of the offender, or it could be some other foreign DNA that might match back to the house. In other words, there are ways to actually type plants or vegetation. So where the glove was found is the vegetation there and plants inconsistent with the vegetation found in front of Nancy's house. So there's a variety of things, and that takes time. But what I was saying is, if I had that information and we submitted the DNA and it matched, we got a match to a known profile, because you might match to an unknown profile. Not every hit in CODIS is a known profile. So sometimes we have unknown stuff, but if it's known and we know who the person is, I would not disclose that information until I'd worked up the operation, until we got the arrest op done, the search warrant, the arrest warrant, got all the resources in place. Then what I would do is, at the same time we're hitting, the minute we take that person into custody, it's like the operation to get Osama bin Laden, Operation Neptune Spear. The minute you do it, then you come back with the code word, which theirs was, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo. That was the code that everybody let them know that target was acquired. Now we're exfiltrating out of the area. So I wouldn't release that information until we had the person in custody, but they're looking at the backpack, the holster. That's good information to give, because now it allows people to start saying, I saw that guy with that over here. I see the guy in the video. I know who he is.
It's a very good point. And you have to assume that there's plenty they're not telling us, which is understandable, given there are plenty of things that might hurt their investigation, and the priority has to be getting her back.
Right.
Finally, we've heard rumors. They're saying that it's official, that the family has been cleared, essentially. Could that be another just taking the heat off, taking the focus off, or do you think that that's legitimate in regards to her own family? Because in a lot of instances, we do see statistically that often the person is known to someone if there's been an abduction.
Yeah, so with domestic related things, family members being killed, you always start at the center. It's a concentric ring. You start at the center and you work out in terms of strength of relationship. Where's the strongest relationships? Immediate family, close family, then friends and acquaintances, and then tangential relationships. When I was doing work years ago with New Scotland Yard and their counterterrorism unit, I liked one of the terms they had. It's called TIE, trace, interview, and eliminate. If you don't eliminate people as suspects or get them off the board, you get what's called entropy, informational entropy. You get too much in a system, it becomes too confused. At my age too, Aaron, I tell people my mind's like a bookshelf. It only holds so many books. You put one on, another one falls off. But that's the ability to hold, information in our heads. And so the more complex a case gets, the harder it gets to make these connections between things. So you need to start taking some chess pieces off the board. And it's okay to say, we have eliminated somebody from suspicion. For example, if somebody accused you of committing a crime, but you're in Palm Beach right now, and they say, well, you just robbed a bank in Sydney. Okay, geographically, you can't defy the laws of physics. That wasn't you, right? So could I eliminate you? Absolutely. If a lot of people want to hold on to information, and they want a narrative, right? They want a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Right now, we're only at the beginning. There is no middle, there is no end. And so people want to fill that with a narrative, and that's the dangerous part. So that's why you've got to be careful about what you release. Shape the conversation through structured communications on a regular basis. And then when you have real results to release that can move the case forward, that's when you do it. And if I could say one final thing and I'll stop, it's just a personal rant. You got to quit putting information out about these so-called ransom communications, because nothing has risen to the level yet, first of all, that we have incontrovertible proof of life. And I don't know what it's like in Australia with some of the Australian rules football or the rugby or stuff, but in the United States, professional sports, I can't tell you the last time where they televised a streaker running across the field. Why? Because it enables more bad behavior. You don't do that. Absolutely. You know that. So the more that you talk about this ransom note, the more that they will, quote, keep coming in.
It's so interesting you say that. I was a sports anchor for the first 15 years. They used to call me the Erin Andrews of Australia. And I remember when we went through a period where we had a whole heap of streaks. And of course, we'd show it because it's funny and we'd have a laugh. And then you'd be like, but it's so dangerous and it's bad. But because it was, it was such good television and everyone would watch, it would encourage more and more. So then we had to come up with a network position where we just wouldn't show them at all. So you make a good point. And also I'd like you to note that I did not ask you about those ransom notes. So I was attempting to do the same thing. So that's a tick on both fronts.
Yep.
Morgan Wright, thank you so much. In 30 seconds or less, what is your prediction of how this will end?
I can't predict because it's based on first principles. You just have to work the case. You take the world as you find it, Aaron, not as you wish it was. So you work the case. There are known knowns and there are known unknowns, and then there are unknown unknowns, things we don't know, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is put in the effort. I'd rather be lucky than good, and every now and then luck comes through and it advances the case.
Beautifully said. It's very true in all aspects of life as well. Thank you so much, Morgan. Really appreciate it. Make sure, guys, you check out his Substack as well. Just give us the address of that again.
That was a good interview. Yeah, I got some more short ones. I got a 4-minute one Aaron has with LeBron James. Four minutes.
The pain and bills don't at 5 o'clock, and neither do we. We're here fighting.
LeBron James was asked about Denny, the player from Israel in the All-Stars, who was amazing, and about Israel itself. And of course, we all knew what was going to happen, but have a look at the question, have a look at the answer, and then I'll come back with the reaction.
Miss Libby from Town 14 in Israel. For all the Israeli fans, what message would you like to send for Israel? And also, what do you think about Denny Avdia?
Well, I've been quoted on Danny already. And they asked me what I thought about this season. I said I believe he was an all-star. And I mean, he is an all-star. He's playing, exceptional, basketball. So that's that. And then I mean, if I have fans over there, I've never been there. If I have fans over there, then I hope you've been following my career. I hope I inspire people over there to not only want to be great in sports, but I want you to be better in general in life. So hopefully someday I can make it over there. Like I said, I've never been over there, but I've heard nothing but great things, and I appreciate the question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, LeBron.
Okay, so the reaction to that, of course, he got absolutely annihilated. LeBron James faces backlash after praising Denny and Israel. Mehdi Hassan, shock me, rips LeBron James over Israel comments at NBA All-Star Games. LeBron James ignites outrage for controversial Israel comments at All-Star Weekend. An open letter to LeBron James on Israel Gaza, nothing but great things. And it goes on and on and on. This is what they try and do, by the way. This is their modus operandi. If you say anything that's not completely false, hating and negative about Israel, they come for you. And this is how they keep the majority silent. And you can see when LeBron was asked, you could see that he was kind of in his head going through a process. Is it worth it? What am I going to do? And I get it. I get it, because this is what happens. And good on him for saying what he did, which wasn't anything insanely good, by the way. He just said, I've heard great things. I haven't been, but I've heard great things. So? But they all come down hard now. So anyone else who's ever put in that position, who's in the public eye, who's got some influence, who's a celebrity, thinks about this and goes, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. The mob will come for me. It's not worth it. And this is how they win. This is how they win. They bully people into silence and submission. You know what would be great? Just move on. That's his take. Let him have it. Advocate strongly for yours. Go for gold, even though it's ridiculous and it's based on lies. But this attacking of someone and publicly trying to shame them is all about control. Ignore it. What LeBron did was amazing. Just a very normal response. He didn't capitulate. He just said, yeah, I've heard great things. Haven't been there. But don't let the mob win, because this is what they do.
So those are two good ones tonight with her. I got what one do I have? Crockett. Okay.
This has failed to do.
We have actually
4
sat
minutes.
down and
4
listened,
minutes.
not once, not twice, but on multiple occasions to the survivors. As you saw last week, AG Bondi wouldn't even turn and look at the survivors, let alone allow her DOJ to do their job, which is to investigate. So here we are as the legislative branch doing our jobs and trying to do oversight. Let me tell you, the survivors have said over and over and over, follow the money. That was the one thing that they told us, as well as their attorneys, follow the money. Well, we're following the money, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you that we are running into dead ends at this moment. On yesterday, I was asked about this particular deposition and what I anticipated I would hear. As a trained attorney and litigator, once they told me he wasn't taking the fifth, I thought that the record would be full of I don't remembers. I will tell you that once this record comes out, you will see that you most likely will be left with more questions than answers. It is almost inconceivable to be missing the amounts of money that are missing, and somehow Mr. Wexner have no idea. The other thing that I want you to pay attention to, because again, as a trained litigator, think about some of the themes that we keep hearing. We know that there were supposedly these fraudulent modeling agencies that were set up all over the country, and girls would go in thinking that they were going to get their chance at modeling. Victoria's Secret. We know Victoria's Secret was known specifically for their fashion shows. We know that there are reports of girls that went in thinking that they were potentially going in to model. These are not coincidences. There's two things that have been clear, is that there were always young girls seemingly looking for an opportunity to model, and there were always rich and powerful people on the other side, dangling a carrot, saying, I will give you the life that you're seeking. Yet ultimately, the stories are the same. They're stories of abuse. They're stories of trafficking at the highest level. And I will tell you one thing that was remembered for sure was when asked about Donald Trump and Epstein and whether or not they had been in the same room and what that looked like. He didn't quite remember, but he imagined that, yes, that possibly happened, because he did remember that Donald Trump also would like to show up to the Victoria's Secret runway shows. Now, that was a little odd to him, he said, because Donald Trump was not engaged in fashion whatsoever. But he does recall that. He also said something that I feel like we've heard over and over and over, which is that Epstein liked to drop people's names. So he'd imagine that that may have been one of the names that he dropped. Listen, I want the American people, but more specifically, I want the survivors and anyone who is struggling right now to know that we see you, we feel you, and we are fighting for you. We will not stop. If Mr. Wexner is honest about his intentions in helping us, then we're asking him, if he doesn't remember, then go ahead and turn over all of your financial records, because we need to follow the money, because that is exactly what the survivors told us to do. And we know that the Department of Justice is either inadequate or just not interested in doing justice as it relates to this particular scenario. We in America deserve better. We are looking around the country and we're seeing CEOs that are having to leave their own companies.
Yeah.
We're seeing people that are having to leave their board positions. We're seeing princes being dethroned. We're seeing all kinds of stuff everywhere except for right here at the highest levels of federal government. Whether we're talking about Donald Trump himself or whether we're talking about Secretary Lutnick, and the list goes on. We deserve better in this country, and we will get it.
Jasmine Crockett update. I got a 3-minute video with underground tunnels. I can't remember if we played this one, Fun Eagle.
Moment and drives inside. I make sure we've got cameras rolling. This place isn't only the largest underground facility in the area. They say it's the largest in the world. Look at this. They got room for 2 lanes of 18-wheelers. The road literally goes on for miles. Look, there, it's branching off again. Who knows where that leads? Maybe even to the Huff House.
Do you think they're watching us right now?
Yeah.
And this thing's hooked up to railroad, too.
This facility covers 50 million square feet, all underground, all climate controlled. They got warehouses for food, data, all sorts of things. Offices, manufacturing, even underground farming, and stockpiles of crude oil. Oh yeah, there's plenty of space to live in. You can fit thousands of people here.
That's what I wanted to know. 3 minutes on this one.
That chalkboard photo that was released and the one that was released 8 months ago, boy, did I uncover some stuff. I spent my career at CIA and NSA. I also advised other intelligence agencies. I now have my own corporate intelligence firm. All of these opinions and this analysis is my own. What I think is that they have given us in this chalkboard a map of how they influence and manipulate people. And I think that the network is still alive, which is why certain words are redacted. So let's go. All right, welcome to class. I'm going to start at the top. I'm trying to get through this fast. All right, we have plants. Some people have said plots. I 100% think it's plants. And I think that the words below it are truth, folly, and mark. Folly and mark are redacted in the version that was just released. So when you have plants, those are the people or information that you're planting to influence and manipulate. The mark is your target. The truth could be misconception, part of the truth, what you want the truth to actually look like, even though it's not true. The truth that you want to be the outcome. And folly is a distraction, a misdirection. Like, look over here, don't look at the actual truth. All right, then we have deception. And then I think that it's mirror and face. And this to me shows self-awareness, preying on people's vulnerabilities, insecurities, beliefs, etc. How do you deceive them? Up top, we have appears is what I think. And then underneath music/brain. I know some people think that that's brand. I think that it's brain. And that word is redacted as well. I'm going to tell you why as soon as we go below. Under it, I think that it's this one's the hardest for me, but I think that it's a major/minor, any major minor. I do think that this has to do with music. And the reason that major minor comes to mind is because music is an incredibly powerful tool to manipulate people. Major notes are happier notes, and happier music puts people in better moods. I mean, music can make you cry or make you in a better mood. Minor are your darker tones, your manipulative tones. It's just in a more emotional sense. And then it's also grouped, which is interesting, with time/day. Oh, and the major minor were redacted as well, which is interesting. All right, time/day, depending on the time and the day, a person's guard could be down. And if you're not a morning person or you're not a night person or later in the day when you're exhausted, it's all leading to this bottom one that I think is like drunk brain. Some people have said dark brains, but drunk brain. And the reason that I think that it's drunk brain, time, day, and then major minor is because major minor are going to change your mood. That can manipulate you. The time in the day can give you a sense of their most vulnerable time of day. And then drunk brain is more of a cognizant state when your guard is down, you have less risk awareness, ambitions are down, you're more vulnerable. I mean, think about when you're intoxicated or medicated or whatever that looks like, your brain state is not your normal brain state. And that can be my favorite one I've done because I spent all night analyzing that chalkboard photo that was released and the one that was released 8 months ago. Boy, did I uncover some stuff. I spent my career at CIA and NSA. I also advised other intelligence agencies. I now have my own corporate intelligence firm. All of these opinions and this analysis is my own. What I think is that they have given us in this chalkboard a map of how they influence and manipulate people. And I think that the network is still alive, which is why certain words are redacted. So let's go. All right, welcome to class. I'm gonna start at the top. I'm gonna try to get through this fast. All right.
Okay, I got two 10-minute ones. How many want to listen to make cast video, the last one, 20-minute one?
What's up, it's Benny? It's approximately 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's go ahead and check in on what's trending on my X feed. The truth is out there. This is Peter Ducey with a spaceship alien emoji. What is Fox News saying? Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen evidence of aliens?
Views on
Trump.
his video.
Barack Obama gave away classified information. What now? Fox News' Peter Ducey. Are there aliens? President Trump. Obama gave away classified information. He's not supposed to do that. So are aliens real? Huh? Wait, what now? What now? President Trump issued a warning on Air Force One to Barack Obama, saying Obama's comments about aliens being real is classified. It was a big mistake to speak about classified topics publicly. So Trump is now warning Obama that when he said that aliens are real, that this was classified. President Trump comments on Air Force One. Also talking about Epstein, but like, we'll cover that. But what? Obama said aliens are real, and Trump said he's not supposed to do that. That's all classified. I've seen it. Whoa, okay, that's nuts. You know, here's like the moment
here
with Obama.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51.
They're real, but they're not in Area 51. Well, so like I know where they are. They're not where you all think they are, and they're real. That's what Obama said. Trump's response, ladies and gentlemen, is breaking the internet. Did Barack Obama give away classified information in that answer? Well, this is wild. It's breaking my timeline. Obviously, there are some pretty remarkable bits of information right now that tend to lend towards some type of alien disclosure that's going to happen soon.
No discrimination.
Something that got a lot of attention this week. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, if the president can declassify anything that he wants to, so if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals. What else?
This is an unbelievable clip. Let's break this clip down. So President Trump goes to a rehearsed answer, which he almost never does, which is that Barack Obama is in trouble for giving away classified information.
Supposed to be doing that.
He's not supposed to be doing that.
Well, I don't know if
And
they're
Donald
real or
Trump
not.
says, Donald Trump is asked the obvious follow-up, so aliens are real. And Trump goes, Barack Obama just said they're real, and he's not supposed to say that.
No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it.
Then he says, I never talk about it. Well, of course, because it's classified, obviously. That's implicit in his last comment. But then Trump says something remarkable. Look at Caroline Leavitt's expression here. That's what I think is perhaps most important. Caroline Leavitt's expression, you can see that she's like uncomfortable. She's biting her bottom lip on that. See? And here we go.
Will do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, if the president.
So then he's projecting, right? So now he like throws the question back in Peter Ducey's
Can
face.
declassify anything that he wants to.
Well,
So if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens are real.
Yeah, illegal. Only illegals.
So then Trump makes a joke out of it, but then he says something really telling here. I might get Obama out of trouble. Who said Obama was in trouble? he must be in trouble with someone for saying aliens are real, because the way Trump is acting here is like wild. Trump saying like, no, Obama's in big trouble. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying if aliens are real, meaning Obama stepped in it and I could declassify it and I could prove something. This keeps getting better and better. Wild, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's pop on back in over here. Let's see, because like this has been an insane news cycle. We've obviously told you that President Trump and his administration has regularly talked about, let's just call them space-age weaponry. You know, the theory here is that like, extraterrestrials, spiritual entities, whatever, made contact with America, have exchanged weapons with weapons and technology with the superpowers of the world in order to live among us or whatever, That's kind of the running theory. And Trump's been talking a lot about space-age weaponry that nobody knows about, right? For instance, this clip.
Powerful. This country is very powerful. Let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is.
Weaponry where nobody has any idea what it is, what Donald Trump says. Then he goes and uses the discombobulator on Venezuela. He says nobody else has it, and they like melted the brain of Nicolas Maduro's Venezuelan guards. Okay. Obama gave away classified information on aliens. Is it the distraction playbook? We've been talking about this, obviously. I don't know. Is it distraction from the Epstein scandal? Donald Trump saying it's too bad for the royal family. Very, very bad. Nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but I'm the one who can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wild news cycle. And then just yesterday, you have Laura Trump saying that Donald Trump has a speech prepared.
No, because Miranda, we all want to know about the UFOs, or we all want to know what's going on. And he played a little coy with us. And so that, of course, led us to believe, Eric and I were like, oh my gosh, if he won't even like fully tell us, maybe there's more to it. And then I have just heard kind of around that, I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law's actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life, so to speak. I just, I look at things from the perspective of the vastness.
Okay. So Laura Trump there is predictive programming, obviously. Obviously, that's what's happening here. But, the seriousness at which Trump took the commentary from Barack Obama has really struck me. This is wild. This is wild. Trump says Obama's in trouble. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section.
Okay, another Vinny video, and I got one more Nick video. I don't know if you guys want me to play Cash or a 7-minute Trish video that just came out.
County filed a counter lawsuit to try to get their precious ballots back, as well as get the affidavit unsealed, which they were successful on that front. They got the affidavit made public. However, the judge in that case is still weighing the county's arguments and the DOJ's arguments as to whether or not they should allow the FBI to proceed with the investigation or give the 2020 materials back to Fulton County. That decision has not been made yet, but while we await that decision and everybody's anxiously waiting to see what happens, a little discovery was made that could completely destroy Fulton County's case entirely. And so it appears that one of Fulton County's own board members has blown the whistle because they noticed that the lawsuit that Fulton County filed to get their ballots back and try to stop the FBI's investigation that lawsuit was never legally authorized, which means the whole thing is null and void. And the DOJ is most likely getting ready to take this evidence and file a motion to dismiss and get this case laughed out of court, which would be amazing because it would mean there's no more delays. There's no more hiding behind voter privacy lawsuits. If this filing was void, the FBI would then have a green light to go through every ballot, every file from 2020, and continue their work and get to the bottom of what happened with no lawyers standing in their way. We are talking about complete and total collapse of the legal wall that they've been trying to build around this investigation. Now, the details of this are everything, okay? Because it gets worse. Once they realized that they've been caught, the chair reportedly tried to hold a secret vote via email to fix it. And in Georgia, that's its own violation. That's a violation of something called the Open Meetings Act. And you can't run the government behind closed doors on an iPhone. That is illegal. So that alone could have its own level of consequences. And this board member that noticed that they never properly authorized the lawsuit is calling on the attorney general to investigate. Now, I don't know where that's going, but ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the details here. I want you guys to see what Fulton County tried to pull here and just how incompetent these people are, because they can't even file a freaking lawsuit right. And these are the same people that are telling us that they ran an impeccable election without error, right? We're supposed to trust them that they're able to conduct a free and fair and transparent election, but they can't even file a freaking lawsuit legally. So basically, Fulton County Board of Commissioners, Chairman Robert Pitts, and the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, as well as Fulton County itself. These were the plaintiffs that banded together and filed the lawsuit against the FBI to get the ballots back. They said it was an unlawful search and seizure of property, and they're arguing for the return of said property. Well, guess what? One of the board members, specifically of the BRE, the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, by the name of Julie Adams. So Julie Adams is a member of the BRE. She came out and said, "What the hell? You filed a lawsuit citing me as one of the plaintiffs."
Hey guys, is your tire pressure light stuck on even when your tires are fine? I had the same headache until I...
But we never voted on this. We never authorized this litigation. So you basically just filed a lawsuit and cited me in the lawsuit without my consent. And that, ladies and gentlemen, means that this lawsuit was never legally allowed to have been filed. The board chair can't just unilaterally circumvent the will of the rest of the board members. You need their consent. You have to hold a vote or else it's not legally authorized. So Julie Adams raised the issue, and then get this is where it gets even better. 3 hours after they announced the lawsuit, and most likely Julie Adams spoke up, then the BRE chair attempted to hold a vote by email, which is illegal. Okay, so the Open Meetings Act specifically forbids this practice. You cannot hold a meeting behind closed doors. You can't hold private meetings. It all needs to be open to the public. The law states that there is a level of transparency that the government must give the people. And so trying to hold a vote by email itself is illegal. And so Julie Adams wrote a letter to the Attorney General saying that she did not support the litigation, noted the violations of the Open Meetings Act, and specifically cited the statutes that were violated. She also says, there was no funding approved for the lawsuit. So you're out here spending taxpayer money on attorneys, and you never got the money approved to do this. So the Board of Commissioners never met to approve the funding. They filed this in the dark. They were hoping nobody would notice, the paperwork was forged by a lack of authority. And Julie Adams called him out, cited the specific statutes, and called on the Attorney General, Chris Carr, to investigate. So this isn't just a mistake. This is a desperate attempt to claw back the evidence that the FBI took, even if it means breaking state law left and right. So long story short, Fulton County, in a state of panic, They were trying to get something filed as quickly as humanly possible to get the ballots back before the FBI found what they were looking for. And they started consulting attorneys from across the country. They were getting high-level, high-powered attorneys working pro bono, meaning they're not taking any money up front, to work on a bulletproof filing to get the ballots back. And because they were in such a hurry, they made a massive procedural blunder, which could result in the case being tossed out completely. And they knew that they screwed up, which is why they tried to hold that private meeting and have a vote by email to try to get some sort of digital record that, yeah, we did vote on this, but everything's time-stamped. And so what this really means is that you now have lawyers representing a case that was never properly filed, which means they don't actually represent the case. They're not actually being legally funded by Fulton County. And this could not only have the case tossed out, but like if Chris Carr was an actual attorney general, then he would make the Fulton County officials pay every dime that was spent using taxpayer dollars back. He would make them pay it out of their own pockets, but I doubt that's going to happen. Let's just be honest. But still, this was a major screw up. And I would expect that very soon, sometime in the next couple of days, the DOJ is most likely going to file a separate motion to dismiss to get this case tossed out on this basis. Now, as we currently sit, the judge presiding over this case, he's weighing the county's arguments and the DOJ's arguments on whether or not to return the ballots. And at the same time, Fulton County has filed a motion for stay, which would mean that while the judge is making his decision on whether or not to return the ballots and what that would look like, which could take a while, they want a stay on that evidence, which would mean the evidence stays in the custody of the FBI, but they can't touch it, they can't look at it until the judge makes his final decision. But before that decision even gets made, this whole thing could get tossed out of court because of this massive blunder. But ladies and gentlemen, we should all be thanking Julie Adams for being a patriot and caring about her constituents and speaking up for what the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections tried to pull against the will of the rest of the board. Because ladies and gentlemen, most of these officials in this lawsuit would have just said absolutely nothing and assisted and aided in the cover-up to make sure that this error, this blunder, didn't get out there. So Julie Adams is a patriot, and thanks to her honesty, Fulton County might be in some big trouble here. So ladies and gentlemen,
okay, Nick there, our last one for tonight. The Trish got an update on my Iran news. I don't know what's the story about that. Why that's so big now.
Your fan cash, new customers. This is getting kind of serious, guys. We have found that we're seeing the most buildup in power in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq invasion. The president's son-in-law has been trying to work alongside Steve Witkoff to come to some kind of agreement for a reduction in their nuclear capability, and Iran's just not willing to do it. And so as a result of that, we've been intensifying our military presence there. The president speaking about this just moments ago. I want to go to him here on Iran.
Now is the time for Iran to join us on a path that will complete what we're doing. And if they join us, that'll be great. If they don't join us, that'll be great too. But it'll be a very different path. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But bad things will happen if it doesn't.
Yeah. So a lot of people feel that this is the closest we have gotten to any kind of actual escalation, any kind of war with Iran. And for that reason, you're looking at oil prices going up right now. So pressure on that sector, the expectation would be the Strait of Hormuz, of course, would be closed, and that would result in higher oil prices. And that would be certainly destabilizing in terms of what the president's been trying to do on inflation, right? You've seen oil come down remarkably. But if you think about everything that's happened up until this point, I look back at Venezuela and getting Maduro out and getting the agreement in place with Delcy Rodriguez there to make sure that they opened up the region. It's known as the Orinoco region. It's actually the largest source of oil in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia. It's just really heavy, thick tar. And I've been there, and I can remember holding up a coffee cup and turning it upside down, and like nothing came out, right? That's how thick this stuff is. But we have the technology, we have the capability to get this stuff thinned out. It's expensive to do, and it's not easy to do, but that is sort of an oil source in our backyard. And when I look at the sort of staging and the timing of all of this, they waited on Iran, the escalation with Iran, until they had gotten Venezuela done. Something that I was always perplexed by. I could not figure out why Biden couldn't get to first base with Venezuela when he knew that he was going to be sanctioning Russia, and they were going to cut off oil from Russia going anywhere in the world, right? So why wouldn't you, in that case, like put the cart before the horse and do the proper things to not ensure that oil is going to go through the roof? Instead, they did everything wrong. Not only did they not get Venezuela, they actually went out and cut off all oil that we could possibly drill here in the United States of America. Like, that made any sense? And you'll wonder why. Between the printing, the money press that kept going with Jerome Powell and company, and then you had Nancy and Chuck doubling down with their trillions of dollars worth of spending, and then you had the siphoning off, the cutting off of the oil supply here in America and any possibility of getting anything from South America, Latin America, and it was sort of game over, right? That increased all that inflation. And so if you think about this, if there was a method to the madness, and they knew that they always wanted to basically get Iran to get rid of its nuclear capability altogether, and they knew that they might have to escalate this in some way, shape, or form, it was very smart to, one, open up U.S. oil markets and say, we're going to drill, baby, drill all day long, along with simultaneously going in and saying, okay, we're going to make sure we lock down this Venezuelan oil source as well. So the timing does make sense. Obviously, we don't want to see any escalation. It's difficult to even, you don't want that, right? We don't, and let me reiterate, we don't want that. And yet, at the same time, you got to make sure that they don't get the nuclear capability, because it's game over, frankly, if they do. And so Israel is teaming up with us on this one to try to keep these guys in check. And I think the president's right. It could be really, really, really bad for them. You heard me mention oil prices. You heard me mention Venezuela. I do want to give a quick shout out to my company, 76 Research. The president has talked about the markets going much higher. Let me see if this is, I don't know why the graphic's not coming up. I wanted to present you the graphic for 76 Research, but I will put it right here because I said I can multitask, right? Let me just get this right up on the screen for you, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And one of you guys yesterday was saying how happy you were. I think you had the investment protection portfolio, inflation protection portfolio, forgive me. Or was it basic? It was the basic income builder. I'm not sure. All of our portfolios are up, actually. So that's the good news. But go to 76research.com and take a look at the portfolios there. If you can, you have to buy them. We don't manage your money, but we do tell you what we're investing in and what we like in this environment. And we try to be, we're not going to churn you. We're not like in and out of stocks all the time. We really, when we like something, we like something. Sometimes it'll run up too much. And so we'll diversify out of it and go in and pick something else out. So we're not telling you to get rid of it altogether, but we may add something else to the portfolio and say, reduce your allocation to this one. Hopefully that research can really benefit you and help you. So I encourage you to go there. If you can't do the model portfolios, they're not that much, but if you can't get that research, at least this is my gift to you, okay? And I'm putting this in the show notes too. For $1 a month, you can get the 76 report. We just put out another note this week at the 76 report. So go take a look at that 76 report. And if you can't afford any of it, then even $1 a month, which I know you can, go to investinmaga.com. You see, I want you to have this opportunity. I want you to be investing. And I don't want to feel like your mom here or Susie Orman or something, but dollar cost averaging into the markets is a really smart thing to do. And given this escalation of the situation in Iran, I think there's, winners and losers in all of this. And so I encourage you to be invested right now and to think through all of that.
So that just came out Her latest one that's real important there. Okay, another day of intel. Hopefully we'll get something here. So 2 good shows today. See what tomorrow brings, what I always say every day. Another day. So thanks to mods. We got Kay, Lucy, Flying Eagle, and Carol, Tim. Bless everybody to Bob, and please like and make sure you sub to the backup channels, please. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Signing off, Chico Dude. Another night, unless something breaks. Flying Eagle, everybody.